Hi, everyone. Having some technical difficulties. Just give me a second. I don't know, my phone is acting funny today. Um, if you guys can see me, say hi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Um, Hi, good morning, Amelia, Jenna. Good morning. I just want to jump on here today to, of course, talk about immigration right now. If this is your first time joining in, definitely comment in here so we can give you a shout out. My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration lawyer here in the United States. I represent all states for family immigration, humanitarian-based immigration, or nationality law. To schedule a consultation, you can call 407-995-6567, or you can send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. Good morning, Diane. Good morning, Keenan. Yewande, good morning. Chuck's first time, good morning. Franca, good morning. Hamza, good morning. Claudette on YouTube, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Head technician says a lot of people are afraid now. I mean, it's what it is. I guess for me, as someone who has practiced in Trump's administration and Biden's administration, one thing that I can say to encourage you guys is that you'll be fine. We all go through hard things in life or changes in life, but you will be fine. We were fine then, we were fine in this administration, and we'll be fine in the next administration. Of course, a lot of things are coming out, in the more recent days about what Trump's plan is. You guys have seen, yesterday, or maybe you've not seen, he has basically said, one of the ways in which he plans to execute his mass deportation is through use of the U.S. military. He's planning to use the U.S. military to help, with a mass deportation. Again, I don't know how realistic it is going to be to deport 11 million people. And what the plan is or how they're going to stagger it. But, their goal or the idea of what it is that they're trying to do is they're trying to first start with those who are criminals, or those who have those crimes, so those are some of the things that they're going to prioritize, and then move on to whatever it is that they want to do. Of course, it's a concern for me when the U.S. military is being invoked, on human beings as though they're like terrorists or like, I don't know. But, I'm just kind of tired of talking about it, honestly, just because I am, I think that, most of you that follow me for a long time know, like, I'm not one to like stoke fear. It's not going to be an easy road, but I prefer to give news when it's news, when it's been, put in place, than to create a pandemonium. I mean, we already have enough in this world to be stressed out about. I mean, one thing that he has said is that he's planning to remove TPS. That's definitely a concern. Like, his plans to remove TPS, for Haitians, Cubans, Venezuelans, and those with TPS, from yesterday's news. Again, I don't really know what his plan is or how he's planning to do it, but until it's done, everything is speculative, because, there are many things that, a lot of presidents plan. And then when they enter into office, they don't do it. What I do know is that, now is not the time to dilly-dally. Like, if you are in the process of filing for your paperwork, if you already have a paperwork, do not joke around. You want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. You want to make sure that you have a strong application being submitted, because if you don't have a strong application being submitted, you are going to now become an enforcement priority for being in removal proceedings, which is the same thing as a deportation court. In this current era, if your case was denied and you're not a criminal, you don't have a criminal record, you're not an enforcement priority. So USCIS is not necessarily thinking, let's refer them to an immigration judge for deportation. However, in Trump's previous administration, which he's planning to do in the new administration, is that everyone is an enforcement priority. What does that mean? It means that if you're denied, you're being referred to a deportation court to go plead your case then. Nobody wants to go into that abyss, because that abyss a lot of times often ends up in someone being issued a deportation order. So you really want to not try to mess around. That's the only way I can say it without saying it. People that think putting an immigration application is just doing a form. This is going to be the reality check for you. It is not just writing a form. There is a strategy that goes into submitting an immigration petition. If it was just a form, then everybody should be approved, right? Every single person should be approved. But it is not just a form. It is the strategic documents that are submitted, the strategic placements, even what you're selecting in there, to make sure that you're selecting something that doesn't penalize you. These are all things that now need to be paid attention to. In the past, or in the current time, you can submit something incomplete, and forget to submit something, and you get a request for evidence. Can I have your financial affidavit of support? You forgot to submit your taxes, or your recent taxes, or you forgot to submit your W-2, or you forgot to submit an I-138, etc. In the administration that Trump had in the past, and the one he's going to bring in the present, they have the discretion to deny you. They don't have to give you an RFE if your application is not complete. They don't have to give you an RFE. So it is more important now than ever to make sure that when you are submitting something, you are submitting the correct application. You're hiring a credible lawyer who knows what they're doing and who works with them. You don't have to hire me. Just hire a credible lawyer. Of course, I would love for you guys to hire me, but it's okay if you don't want to hire me. Just hire a credible lawyer and make sure that they know what they're doing. Someone is asking what TPS is. TPS is temporary protected status. It means the U.S. gives certain countries, that have, political crises, temporary protected status from deportation. Oftentimes it's for like 18 months and they can renew it. So some of the countries right now that are in temporary protected status are Haiti or Cuba, Venezuela. So these are things that he's planning to remove. I don't know if you guys remember, a couple of years ago, where the Haitian president was assassinated. And that was he assassinated, or it was an attempted assassination? I think he was assassinated. And if you're Haitian on here, you can correct me. I don't remember right now. But so that was another, uptick that brought back the temporary protected status for Haitians, and, the same for other people. So basically they're looking at countries with political unrest. So basically that's something that, he wants to remove. And for those, I don't do asylum, so I don't really talk a lot about asylum, but now, like, for those from Mexico, okay, so, Evie said he was assassinated. Yeah, and I think that they said his wife was like a suspect or something like that. So, like, for those who have asylum cases now, and if you're from Mexico, they're wanting you to go back to Mexico to wait until they make a decision on your asylum case. So there are just so many things that could be coming up. The one that I keep talking about, and I have to keep reminding you guys about, is if you're doing a marriage-based case, they most likely will be bringing back the I-944, which is the wealth test. This is the test of whether or not they consider you eligible to be a green card holder in the U.S. Wave said, I heard Trump said if you went to college for 2 years, he will give you a green card. Is that true? Well, he said he's going to do that he wants to do that, but he hasn't done it. So we'll see. But I will tell you that, it definitely weighs in your favor for that well test, because those applications specifically ask you, did you go to college? If you go to college, so the way the well test works is that you have a bucket, I believe it was 7 or 8 standards, and they put a check mark for the things that make you desirable here, and thumbs down for the things that don't make it desirable. So, i.e., did you go to college? If you didn't go to college, do you have any kind of certifications and at least a GED degree? Are you able to speak English? If you're not able to, if you're not from an English speaking country, do you have a certification proving that you have mastered English, like tests of English as a foreign language, like TOEFL? Do you have health insurance? So in the well test, it's not something that is optional. All immigrants applying for immigration must have health insurance, every single one of them. They don't care whether you have a social security number or not. They don't care how you're getting the health insurance, but you must have health insurance. You must show your bank accounts and show that you have the ability to pay if you have a health crisis, and especially if you're filing for your parent and the parent is over a certain age, you must be able to show that you have the ability to pay for their health. And this is basically like an enhanced version of the public charge rule that you currently have. What are the other things on there? Your credit must be run. So all credit must be run. This one was one of the most ridiculous ones to me personally, just because a lot of immigrants don't have social security numbers, but they wanted us to go and verify and send a screenshot showing on TransUnion or Experian or Equifax saying no credit. We cannot find the credit. Like, we have to include that in the application. So for those of you who are just, maybe like don't care about your credit, or maybe come from a country where you don't have a lot of financial literacy and training on credit, you want to be very mindful with your credit. You want to be mindful with insufficient funds and declining accounts in your bank accounts, because these are things that will potentially affect your application. Someone asked, what about VAWA? Well, VAWA remained the same in the previous Trump's administration. I have read Project 2025. I don't anticipate anything happening with VAWA. I anticipate it continuing as it is, since it was that way in the previous administration, and in all projections, the priority now is deportation of those who entered into the United States illegally. Do you think it's safe now to travel internationally with advanced parole? I think it's still safe. In Trump's administration, my clients were still traveling. As long as you have a pending case and you're eligible to travel, you can travel. Again, eligibility to travel is not just having an advanced parole. There are many things that I look at for each client before I can say it's okay for you to travel. Again, for me, if you have an RFE that was responded to and has passed the deadline to respond to, I never recommend traveling unless we know that your case is getting approved at that point. Because if that RFE is not sufficient to get your case approved and they deny you while you're outside the country, then that's going to be a problem. Same thing with a notice of intent to deny. So for me, in order for me to say, you can travel, I need to look and see where your hair technician says, can I travel to Jamaica? My 5-year permit. I think I saw you mention that you're one of our clients. Send us a message of your date of travel so we can run your alien number and see where your case is before we can tell you yes or no. Okay. Would a closed bank account due to overdue fees affect you? It could, depending on if, because I know with the bank accounts, I don't know if it goes on your credit or it just goes on the check system where they don't allow you to open a new bank account. So if it doesn't go on your credit, they might not be able to see that one, but they will be expecting bank statements from you in an I-944 situation. I'm out of status and I'm getting married. Can family abroad safely come to my wedding without suspicion being drawn to me? You should be fine. Weddings are happening every day. As long as you're married a U.S. citizen or a green card holder is what it is. Guys, just remember, if you entered into this country with the with a visa, you're married to a U.S. citizen, or a green card holder is still a bit problematic. But if you're married to a U.S. citizen, you don't have anything to worry about. Just file your paperwork and just submit a strong paperwork so that you can be approved. Okay. My I-130 got approved last month, and I just received an RFE. I intend to travel in January. Is it safe? I would not. Well, You said you just received an RFE. So it will depend on your RFE. Most RFEs are 87 days. So if you just got your RFE in November, most likely RFE is due in February. So if you submit your RFE before you travel, I wouldn't travel. If you submit your RFE after you come back, then maybe it's okay. But again, I can't give you personal legal advice because I don't know your personal situation. I applied for VAWA and an I-765 in 2022, and I'm still waiting. Is that normal? I'm Black Irish. What are you still waiting on? Your work permit or your VAWA approval? If it's VAWA approval, that's normal. If it's work permit, that's not normal because that's a long time unless you put the wrong category in your 765. Someone says, why can't I get you personally to talk to? I don't know. I don't know what you mean, Sophia. You can schedule a consult with me when you call. Like, if my availability, I have other attorneys that work at our firm, and all of us do consultation. So it just depends on, who's available to be scheduled. Sometimes if you want to speak to me, it just means that the schedule might be longer. It might take you a longer time. So it depends on what you need and how quickly you need to speak with an attorney. Our goal usually is to get people to an attorney as quickly as possible. If I'm an illegal immigrant in the US, is it possible to win a green card within the US? I truly hate that term illegal. If this is your first time tuning in, you probably don't know this. For those of you that are OGs, you know this. Like, I really, really hate the word illegal because no human being is illegal. We're human beings. Nobody's illegal. So if you are asking if you entered into the country undocumented, I'm assuming that's what you're asking me. If you entered into the country undocumented, is it still possible to win a green card through the US? There are different ways in which you can get a green card through the US if you entered into the country undocumented. Number one, if you were married to a US citizen who is abusive or a legal permanent resident who is abusive, you can get a green card in the US that way. Number two, if you have been a victim of labor trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, and you get approved, you can get a green card that way. Number three, if you are a victim of a serious qualifying crime, you can get a green card through a U visa. These three categories allow you to stay and be entered without inspection, meaning there's no documentation of you entering into the United States. Another option is if you have a US citizen child who's over the age of 21 and is abusive to you, extremely cruel to you, that is also another path for you. Or if you're a child and your parent is a US citizen. There obviously, if you're a child and your parent is a US citizen, but if you're a parent, your child must be a US citizen over the age of 21. Obviously, it will all depend on the age in which you are as a child, because, with a child, you have to file before you turn 21. There's a limited late exception application between the ages of 21 to 24. You can kind of do it through them as well. Let me do some YouTube. I feel like I've been neglecting YouTube. Arnold says, Aisha, good morning. How can I get to talk to you? I try so many times. Like, I don't understand. Like, when you guys say, how can you get to, what do you mean? Do you mean like you're calling or you're not able to reach us, or like, I'm not available to schedule a call quickly with? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, because you can call and schedule a consult with me if you want me specifically. Okay, so let's see. I'm a DACA recipient since 2012. I also filed for VAWA October 2023. My DACA renewal isn't due until January of 2026, which is 150 days prior to renewal. Should I be worried? Amber, honestly, like, I really hate to pour on people and make people have anxiety, when we don't know what the rules are going to be. The rule right now is that if you already had it, before 2021, you can continue to renew. Is it something that could be a concern? It's possible, but I can't tell you for a fact just because I don't know, because there's so many things that this new administration wants to do with immigration. But the thing is, it's not realistic that all these things are going to be done in 4 years. Because when we think about it, President Biden had so many things he wanted to do as well, and those things were not done. So I don't know from a priority standpoint where you would fall. It's always a concern, but I will say right now, just continue as you are, which is, in a period of authorized stay here in the U.S., and just keep going and just keep believing for the best. Okay. I filed an I-360 on October 31st and received my prima facie on 18th. Do you think Val will get adjudicated faster? I don't think so. I actually see immigration going back to a slower pace. A lot of what pushed quick adjudications in the last 2 years was the interview bypasses that they've been doing. They've been doing interview bypasses for certain cases where if it was more likely than not that this was a good faith marriage, they'll bypass your interview. If it was a valid case that had an approval, majority of the people get bypassed. But with the new administration, everyone is going for an interview. So if everyone is going for an interview, it means that officers are going to be backlogged. It means that it's going to take them a longer time to make decisions. Yeah. What I do pray, though, is that they continue to keep the work permits at the 5-year requirement, because that is something that could also potentially slow down. Because, in Trump's administration, where we had 1 year and then was now 2 years, so if we keep it at 5 years, then it reduces the chances of people filing for renewal so that they can use that resource to, process cases quicker. If you have a 5-year visa and you stayed in the U.S. for a year, does the mass deportation still affect you? Yes, actually, this is a very good question, because, I've seen a lot of people in the comments saying, well, you don't have to worry. If you didn't enter the country without inspection, you don't have to worry. You do have to worry if you have overstayed your time, because it means that you're not in the United States legally. It means that you're not in the United States legally, and you're also subject to deportation. So having a 5-year visa doesn't mean that you have a 5-year authorized stay in America. The visa means that you can enter temporarily, go out, and keep coming back for 5 years before you have to renew your visa. Most people are given a maximum of 6 months entry into the United States. After 6 months, if you stay between, after 6 months, if you overstay up to 6 months, then you're looking at a 3-year ban back into the United States once you leave. If you overstay for a year or more, you're looking at a 10-year ban. So you should be worried, however, you should just be mindful and stay low, keep yourself low. Do not find yourself in any situation and get yourself in any trouble. I can't tell you how many times, in consultations, I have to take the mother hen approach, like with potential clients, when they tell me, oh, I got arrested for this, I got arrested for that. And I say to them, listen, guys, you're trying to get your green card in this country. You already don't have paperwork. You need to stay out of trouble. I shouldn't have to tell you that. You don't need to be speeding. If the speed limit is 55 miles an hour, you do not need to be going more than 58 miles an hour. Do not give yourself a reason for a cop to stop you. There are certain states in the previous administration, which is coming back, that have what we call mandatory reporting. Mandatory reporting means that the state officer, like the state police, can report you to ICE for stopping you and saying, oh, you were speeding, I'm going to give you a ticket, but let me see your driver's license and registration. Oops, you're an immigrant, we're sending you to deportation. I remember during Trump's administration, I think I may have talked about this the last time, I will never forget one of those heartbreaking cases where this client, she was a victim of horrendous abuse. And she was being choked. She was being choked by her spouse. And she had a bottle of water just like this. And, to try to loosen his grip, she splashed the water on him, screaming for help. So I guess a neighbor heard her, and the neighbor called the cops. And when the cops showed up, instead of this guy, being in trouble, the cops' focus was on the fact that she was undocumented. And so she ended up having to go into ICE detention and staying there for months, until she was able to be bonded out. And, when she was bonded out, I guess at the time, the husband's like, okay, he'll file for her, he'll do the I-130 for her. But, it's very difficult for abusers to change, and abusers don't change that quickly. I'm not saying that people are not capable of redemption or changing, but it's very difficult for them to change quickly. So after he filed the I-130, abuse continued, and he revoked the application. And of course, she came to us for her VAWA. We got her VAWA approved. And then we filed for a motion to terminate her proceedings, which was also approved. And she's just getting her green card this year. But this was since 2000, and I want to say 19. But you can see it took 5 years just because of this incident where the cops were called, and she wasn't even the one that was aggressive. She was defending herself. So imagine a situation where you're the one being stopped for speeding, or you're the one being stopped for getting into a fight. Like, if you have a hot temper, go to anger management, go scream in your house, scream in a pillow or something. Like, there's no need for you to get yourself in a situation that cops are being called on you. If you are a victim or you're in an abusive relationship, I'm specifically speaking to men. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Then I got to jump off. Especially men, a lot of times, listen, I'm a woman, and I know that a lot of times the law favors the women when it comes to domestic issues. If you have a spouse that is vindictive, that threatens to make false accusations against you or false charges or whatever, remove yourself from the situation. I can probably count it in more than one hand how many times I have told our clients this information, and how many times our clients have been set up and their wives lied on them that they were being physically abusive to them, whereas our male spouses were the ones being abused, because it's easier to believe women. So stay out of anyone that's instigating that and putting you in that situation. And as long as you do that, God willing, you'll be safe, And if all else fails, you should be applying for a green card if you're eligible for one. If you're eligible for citizenship, you should be applying for citizenship. All right, guys, I know I wasn't able to get to a lot of questions today. I'm going to try and see what other day I can come on live. And if I can, I'll just put an announcement so you can come on live and ask your questions, or you can schedule a consultation. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will chat later.